I've been with Mark for 5 years now, and our journey together has been filled with love, challenges, and difficult decisions that have shaped who we are today. When we first met, everything felt perfect. We were young, ambitious, and ready to conquer the world together. Those early days were magical, filled with late-night conversations about our dreams and plans for the future. During our first 3 years together, I discovered I was pregnant 3 different times. Each positive test brought a mix of emotions that I still remember clearly. The first time it happened, I was working as a junior assistant at a small firm, barely making enough to cover my rent and basic expenses. Mark was still finishing his certification program and doing part-time work to support himself. We sat in my tiny apartment, looking at that pregnancy test, knowing we weren't ready. The second pregnancy came 8 months later. By then, Mark had started his new job, but he was still in training, earning just enough to manage his student loans. I had switched jobs, hoping for better pay, but the new position demanded long hours and frequent travel. We were still living separately, because neither of us could afford a place big enough for 2 people. The timing couldn't have been worse. The third time was the hardest. It was almost 2 years into our relationship, and we thought maybe we could make it work. We spent a week planning, calculating expenses, looking at tiny apartments we might afford together. But then my mother called. She needed help with my younger brother's school fees. She had been struggling since my father left, working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. How could I bring a baby into the world when my own family needed my support? Each time we made the painful decision to end the pregnancy. It wasn't easy. Mark would hold me as I cried, promising that someday we'd be ready, that someday we'd have the family we both wanted. Those promises kept us going, even when the weight of our choices felt unbearable. After the 3rd pregnancy, I started taking birth control pills religiously. Every morning, without fail, I'd take that tiny pill, determined to prevent another heartbreaking situation. But our bodies aren't machines, and mine began to rebel against the constant hormones. At first it was small things. I'd feel nauseous in the mornings, even though I wasn't pregnant. My periods became irregular, sometimes skipping months entirely. Then came the headaches. They would start behind my eyes and spread across my skull like lightning. Some days, I couldn't even look at my computer screen at work. I tried different brands of pills, hoping to find one that wouldn't affect me so badly, but each came with its own set of problems. One made me gain weight rapidly. Another caused mood swings so severe that Mark and I would argue over the smallest things. The worst part came after we ended the 3rd pregnancy. Something inside me changed. For months afterward, my body felt different, foreign. I couldn't sleep properly. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I had damaged something permanently. The fear grew stronger when my periods stopped coming altogether for 3 months. When they finally returned, they were different. Lighter, shorter, unpredictable. I started researching online, reading stories from other women who had similar experiences. Some said their bodies returned to normal after stopping the pills. Others shared darker stories about struggling to conceive when they were finally ready. The uncertainty ate at me. What if I had ruined my chances of ever becoming a mother? What if, when Mark and I were finally ready, my body would fail us? Mark noticed my worry. He'd find me crying in the bathroom, clutching negative pregnancy tests that I'd take just to see if my body still worked properly. He suggested we see a doctor, but I was terrified of what they might say. What if they confirmed my worst fears? So I pushed through, pretending everything was fine while anxiety gnawed at my insides. 2 years passed this way. Mark's career flourished. He got promoted twice and started earning a decent salary. I changed jobs again, finding a position with better benefits and steady hours. We finally moved in together, renting a small but comfortable apartment. Life was getting better, more stable. We started talking about marriage, about finally starting that family we'd postponed for so long. Then last week, everything changed. I had been feeling tired lately, but I blamed it on work stress. My period was late, but that wasn't unusual anymore. Still, something made me buy a pregnancy test on my way home from work. I didn't even tell Mark. I locked myself in the bathroom and waited those 3 long minutes. 2 pink lines appeared. Clear, strong, undeniable. I was pregnant. I sat on the bathroom floor, holding that test, feeling everything at once. Joy bubbled up from somewhere deep inside. We could finally have our baby. But fear crashed over the joy like a cold wave. What if my body couldn't handle it after everything I'd put it through? What if something went wrong? When I showed Mark the test, his face lit up like Christmas morning. He picked me up and spun me around our small living room, already making plans. He talked about converting the spare room into a nursery, about names he'd been secretly thinking about how he couldn't wait to be a father. His excitement was infectious, and for a moment, I let myself dream too. But life has a way of complicating our happiest moments. 3 days after discovering the pregnancy, I received an email that would normally have made me jump for joy. A major international company, one I'd dreamed of working for since college, was offering me a position. The salary was almost double what I currently earned. The benefits were incredible. Health insurance that would cover my entire family, education allowances, housing support. This wasn't just any job. This company was known for transforming careers. People who worked there for even a few years went on to become industry leaders. The position they offered me was exactly what I'd been working toward my entire professional life. They wanted me to join their team as they launched operations in our country in early 2026. The timing couldn't have been worse, or better, depending on how I looked at it. With this salary, I could finally give my mother the help she desperately needed. She's been working herself to exhaustion for years, trying to keep my younger brother in school. He's smart, really smart, but school fees keep increasing. Last month she called me crying because she couldn't afford his exam fees. I sent what I could, but it wasn't enough. This job would change everything for them. But here's what keeps me awake at night. How can I start a demanding new job while pregnant? The company is launching fresh operations. They'll need someone who can work long hours, travel for training, be fully present and energetic. They're investing in someone who can give their all, especially in those crucial first months. Would they even want me if they knew I'd need maternity leave within the year? I've researched the company's policies. On paper, they support working mothers. They have maternity leave, childcare support, all the right policies. But policies on paper and reality are different things. I've seen it happen to other women. They get passed over for promotions, left out of important projects, slowly pushed aside because they're seen as less committed, less available. And then there's the other fear, the one that makes my stomach twist with anxiety. Mark and I aren't married. In our society, that matters. People talk. They judge. At 32, I'm already fielding questions about when I'll settle down, when I'll have children. If I show up to a new job pregnant and unmarried, what will they think? Will they see me as irresponsible? Unprofessional? Will it affect how they treat me? The opportunities they give me? Mark says we can get married quickly, before I start showing. He's ready. Has been ready for a while now. But is that the right reason to get married? Because we're afraid of what people might say? We've built our relationship on love and mutual respect, not on society's timeline. Getting married now would feel like we're doing it for everyone else, not for us. I think about the pills I took for so long, about the pregnancies we ended, about the fear that I might never conceive again. This baby feels like a miracle, a second chance I might not get again. What if I let this pregnancy go and my body never recovers? What if this is my only opportunity to become a mother? The thought terrifies me more than any judgment or career setback. But then I think about my mother's tired face, about my brother's bright future that depends on my support. This job could secure their lives, give them the stability they've never had. How can I be selfish and choose my baby over their needs? They've sacrificed so much for me. Don't I owe them this? Mark doesn't understand my dilemma fully. He sees it simply. We love each other. We want this baby, we should have it. He promises we'll figure out the money, that I can find another job later. But he doesn't carry the weight I do. His parents are comfortable, retired with pensions. They don't need his help. He doesn't wake up to calls from home asking for assistance with medical bills or school supplies. I've made a list of pros and cons so many times I could recite it in my sleep. Keep the baby. Finally have the family we want. Honor the miracle of this pregnancy. give Mark the child he's dreaming of, take the job, secure my family's future, achieve my career dreams, be the provider my mother and brother need. But life isn't a simple list. It's messy and complicated and full of consequences we can't foresee. What if I keep the baby and the company withdraws the offer? What if I take the job and spend the rest of my life regretting the child I didn't have? What if my body, already damaged from years of pills and terminated pregnancies, can't handle another loss? I've started talking to the baby when I'm alone. It's silly, I know. At 5 weeks, there's not much there. But I tell it about its father, about how much he already loves it. I tell it about the room we'd paint yellow, about the songs I'd sing, about the life we'd give it. Then I cry because I'm also thinking about letting it go. The deadline to respond to the job offer is approaching. Every day that passes feels like a weight on my chest. Mark grows more excited about the baby while I grow more anxious about our future. He started buying small things. A tiny pair of socks he couldn't resist. A book about pregnancy. Each purchase feels like a promise I'm not sure I can keep. I need someone to tell me what's right, but I know no one can make this choice for me. Every woman who's faced this decision knows the weight of it, the way it sits on your shoulders and colors every moment. There's no perfect answer, no choice that doesn't involve sacrifice. So here I am, 32 years old, 5 weeks pregnant, holding a job offer that could change my family's life, loving a man who wants to build a future with me, and more confused than I've ever been. Time is running out, and I need to decide. Do I choose the miracle growing inside me or the opportunity that could lift my family out of struggle? Do I listen to my heart that's already attached to this baby or my head that knows the practical implications? Whatever I choose, I know I'll carry it forever. The question is, which choice can I live with? Which regret would be easier to bear? The child I didn't have, or the opportunity I didn't take? The family I couldn't help, or the family I couldn't start? I wish someone could tell me what to do. I wish there was a clear right answer. But life isn't that simple, and neither is this choice. All I can do is weigh my options, consider the consequences, and make the decision that feels most authentic to who I am and who I want to become. The clock is ticking, and soon I'll have to choose.